A goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to the Andy Takes That Chance preview show, The Drive-In. It's Matt and Killer here to guide you through all you need to know for the Terriers' trip to Stevenage this coming weekend. Will it be shame, lame, or great game at the Lamex? We'll tell you all about our opponents, how they play, and we'll also hear from a Stevenage fan, Matt, from the Stevenage FC podcast. Can Town limp to victory down south? Let's wade in. Killer, back with me as usual. What do you know about Stevenage, my good man?
Very little, but that they will be in for an easier game this weekend against us than they did first time round.
Well, let me tell you about Stevenage then. Stevenage Borough were formed in 1976 following the death of the previous incarnation. The borough played in the United Counties League until the 1990s when several promotions saw them promoted to the conference. The club won the conference in 1996, but were denied entry to the Football League as the ground was not up to regulation. And it wasn't until 2010 when they finally made the step into the Football League. At this point, the club dropped Borough from the club name and just went with Stevenage FC, but have maintained the Borough as their official club nickname. Stevenage won promotion to League One in their first season and have bounced betwixt the two leagues since. The club have won the FA Trophy on 2 occasions, runners-up in League One in League Two in 2023, and playoff winners 11. The club play at Broadhall Way, which was redeveloped in the early 2000s, but the club have played there since their inception. Players that have played for both clubs, Killer, can you think of any? There's only 4.
But I think Tyrese Simpson, and that's the only one I can. It's big Tyrese, and that's about it for me, Matt.
Tyrese Simpson, Junior Mendes, Jamie Boom Boom McComb, and Lucas Akins. Lucas Akins has come up quite a lot, hasn't he, this season? He's a League One stalwart. So only 4 players. And only 4 players because the clubs have only met on 3 occasions, 2 seasons that they've met. 2 wins for Town and a draw at Stevenage. So Huddersfield Town are unbeaten against Stevenage FC. Don't like those kind of things, Killer. Killer, shall we hear from a Stevenage fan?
Yeah.
So we've got a treat for you. We've got Matt from the Stevenage FC podcast, and Matt's a top man. And here's a little chat that me and him had over WhatsApp voice notes earlier this week. Hi, mate. It's been a good 6 months since we last met. You know, what have you been up to? How's the season been going since then?
Hiya, Matt. Yeah, great to connect again, buddy. It's been what's it been, about six months since I think we last spoke. Obviously, we had you right at the start of the season and lost that day 2-1. I felt we played very well in the second half, but you could see your quality early on. Wow, what a season for our point of view. We've had a magnificent season. We've called this season the biggest season for many reasons. Alex Ravel as manager back in the hot seat after Evans left. Brand new squad in terms of what we've built around the core and probably the toughest league we've played in. And it's been brilliant. We've got 12 wins, 8 draws, 20 top results, 25 top performances from 32, 15 clean sheets. We've had a brilliant season and we've seen many excellent performances from this team. We have had the odd period where we haven't performed well, and I think recently that's been down to fatigue and the amount of matches that we've played in, consecutive weeks. But generally, it's been a really positive season, and we've had all this kind of success and top performances and top results, missing some of the biggest players in the squad. So it's been a great season, 12th with 44 points. We're really proud, and looks like that we're going to achieve what we wanted to achieve, which was staying up and setting those foundations for the next few years.
You're currently smack bang in the middle of the table in 12th with 12 wins and 12 defeats. It's all the 12s. Are you eyeing a late run for the top 6, or are you sat comfortably and happy where you are?
I'd love to say that we'll come with a late run and compete near those playoffs. And look, we're only 9 points off. It's 3 wins. And I think the fact that, we've got all these big players back that have missed the whole of the season, and we knew that we'd get better when we got these big players back, and we saw that in the 3-2 win at Wrexham, which was an amazing night, the 1-0 win at Barnsley, the performances we've seen recently. And look, we've just beaten Shrewsbury 1-0 after the kind of ropey bit of form we've had due to the fatigue. So we've got an opportunity with 14 games to go to do it. I think for us at Stevenage Football Club, it's all about, and with this squad this season, it's all about staying up. And I think for us at the minute, if we can finish around 12th, top 10 would be an incredible achievement. I said on Gab Sutton's platform a couple of weeks ago, I think if we got into the top 10 and finished in the top 10, for us, that's like finishing in the playoffs anyway. So I'd love to say that we'll come with a late run, never rule it out. We've got the squad to do it. But I think for us, really, a top 10 finish would feel like a playoff run.
Tell us something about Stevenage Borough that no one outside of supporting the club would ever know.
Oh, great question. Actually, there's quite a few, but I'm going to go with one that is very unique. We are actually the first ever team to win a competitive final at Wembley Stadium, the new Wembley. We won the FA Trophy in 2007. We won it 3-2. Steve Morrison scored in the last minute to win a sit against Kidderminster Harriers. So, yeah, that's a really interesting stat about us. And well, interesting fact that we were the first ever club and team to win a trophy at the new Wembley Stadium.
Jake Young's a local boy to us, having played for Shelley in our local junior leagues. He's someone that we missed out on because we closed our academy. So we're quite intrigued to know how he gets on down there. And it's nice to see one of our own making waves in professional football. So how's he doing?
Yeah, Jake's a quality player. And he was one of those signings for us where we heard that a lot of other sides wanted him. I know that Fleetwood wanted him in League Two and we picked them to him. And I think that Jake's got real League One ability and League One level about him. And I think he just needs this season to properly get to that standard. I think one thing about Jake, he's just struggled making the step up, in my opinion. But there's been many cracking games that he's had, top performances. He scored in our first away win at Mansfield back in October where we won 1-0. He was brilliant that day. I remember him in the virtual away at Orient this season, played brilliantly in a pair with Louis Apparay up top. So he's shown potential that he's good enough for the level. I just think he needs a full season at this division. I think next season he'll be a better player once he's got a proper season in the bag at this level. He's got a lot of pace. He likes to take people on. He likes to be positive and shoot and score goals. But I think next season you'll see a better version of Jake Young. But look, he's a very important player and a very important player to the final third for us.
How are you guys likely to line up then on the day? What's the system of choice that you guys use and the style? And has it altered from 6 months ago?
So the kind of style and the way that we'll line up against yourselves at home on Saturday, the kind of systems evolve from when we played you away from home. Early on into the season, we were used to the 4-3-3 formation. And it's evolved. Alex Ravel has had to change things over the course of the season to make us better. And now that we've got a lot of the big players back, we're able to play the formation that we've wanted to the whole season, which we haven't because we've had to accommodate for missing some of the big players in this squad. So the way that we'll look to line up against yourselves, it's almost like a 4-2-3-1 formation. We have a back four, 2 players sitting in front of that back four. We then have a Dan Kemp that will play in the number 10 role, which is in front of the 2 midfield players. We'll have 2 players either side of Kemp in the forward areas, wide areas, and then 1 leading through the middle. I can't actually tell you exactly who's going to start because I think Alex Ravel will make changes, but I think it's certain that Murphy Cooper will be in goal. Nick Freeman at right back because our 2 main right backs are injured. Dan Sweeney or Charlie Good partnering Cole Pigiani with Lewis Freestone at left back. The 2 midfield players will be between Dan Phillips, Eli King, Harvey White and Louis Thompson. Dan Kemp will be in the 10. The forward areas will be between Edwards, Reed and Roberts. And the forward line the forward man will be between Hanlon or Louis Apparay if he's back fit. But But yeah, that's the way that we'll line up. We'll look to play good football, play through the lines, be intense, be fast, get balls into the box, and defensively strong with some of the cracking players that we've got at the back line. But that's the way that we'll set up. That's the way that we'll play. If you want to get a good idea of how we play, go and watch the highlights against Wrexham. That night we played to this system perfectly.
Right, mate, give us a score prediction.
Oh, great question. Anyone that knows me knows I'm the most positive Stevenage Football Club fan in the world. And this is my favourite squad. It's the best squad we've ever had. And I'm a real advocate for it. And I'm really positive about what we've built this season and for the future. Look, I think we had a brilliant run of form in January when we got the big players back. And then since then, we've struggled with fatigue, 12 games in 6 weeks. But then we just got that big 1-0 win against Shrewsbury on Saturday and played really well that day. I mean, really, we just needed a result in the bag. We just needed to win a game of football. Now that we've got a win, we've had a full week on the training pitch, which we haven't had since the start of December, by the way. I just want to throw that in there. Absurd, the schedule that we've had. I think the team will be raring to go. They'd have been well rested. And I really am positive for a result for us this Saturday. I can see that yourselves have had 2 losses in a row recently. The Wigan and Peterborough struggled of late in those matches. So I'm really confident that we can win the game. Look, I'd bite your arm off for a point against yourselves, but I'm going for a 2-1 win for us. I think you'll potentially go 1-0 up in the game, but I think the week on the training pitch, getting that win on Saturday, I think the players in the second half will really kick on like we've done so many times this season at home in the second half. Good example was Stockport of that, where we dominated. So 2-1 for me, but I think it'll be a cracking game. And lastly, chaps, just want to say best of luck for the rest of the season. Really hope you go on to get promoted. Cracking club, cracking stadium, cracking people. And I wish you all the best of luck for the end of the season. Who knows? Could be R2 in the playoff final. We'd take that, wouldn't we? But best of luck for the rest of the season, chaps. And hopefully you'll be playing championship football next season. Take care.
That's from your good friend Killer, isn't it, Matt, from the Stevenage FC podcast. He moosed you, didn't he, technically, on Twitter earlier by describing you as that, didn't he? After
he better not say that to everybody, though, Matt. He better not go to every League One team and say, I hope we do really well for the rest of the season.
Is he the League One TalkSport Moose saying, my good friend?
Oh, I'd feel cheated. I'd feel cheated upon Matt. So if you are listening, mate, just make sure it's just me you talk to like that, please.
Yeah, he's a good guy, isn't he? Right, Killer, just tell us a little bit about Stevenage's recent form then. Matt said it was fairly good. The info I have is that over the last 6 games, Stevenage are 14th, Town are 16th in the League One form table. Over the last 10, they're 10th, we're 18. Stevenage's home record over the last 6 is in 14th place, and Town's away record 7th. It seems much for muchness. But he did make a mention that they went on a bit of a bad run once it went Saturday, Tuesday because of the fatigue in the squad. But he seems to think they've come through that now. What do you reckon?
It's strange. Matt is very, very positive when it comes to Stevenage. Absolutely. And they did get a good win at Wrexham. And I've gone back and I watched that game live, and they were very, very good. And now Wrexham aren't necessarily as good as everybody thinks, as you've pointed out before, Matt. But Stevenage went and did such a good job there. It was incredible. And then they'd been on such a good run. Now, between the beginning of the season and now, they've kind of always been between 10th and 16th. And a good run of form's kind of taken to the top of that. And then a few defeats have taken to the bottom of that range. But they've been very, very consistent on where they are in the table. But in the last few weeks, they've really fallen off. Like you say, the last 6 games, Matt, they've got the same amount of points as we have, but they've lost to Charlton 2-0. They've lost to Crawley Town 3-1. They drew with Peterborough, and they lost to Burton. And now that's not necessarily a great run of form, is it? And obviously, it's all about perspectives when it comes to talking to other League One clubs, I think, and their fans about how their season's going, because they're expecting for a tough year. They thought they were weaker this season initially than they were last season. And it turns out that they're actually better and they're doing okay without ever doing great. But for them, like you say, Matt, a great 1-0 win at Shrewsbury, whereas we went there last Tuesday and won 1-0. And for us, it was like, well, we won 1-0, but it wasn't a great kind of game. It's all about perspectives, and they're outperforming where they expected to be at this point. But the form has dropped off a little bit after a very, very good December. But it's really strange. As Matt mentioned, at one point in December and January, they played 7 home games in a row between the EFL trophy, the League Cup, a lot in the league. And that kind of helped boost them up a little bit. Whereas now, like you said, they've got back to the Saturday, Tuesdays, and it's been a bit tougher for them. But for us, they didn't play this Tuesday either. So for a team suffering as much as we have, they've had a week on the training pitch, as Matt said, and that's something that can't be underestimated going into this weekend, Matt. They've had a little bit of extra time off, whereas we had to go and put in that slog of a 90 minutes at Wigan.
Okay, so at this point, you know what's coming. Right, Killer, let's head over to the tactics board. Right, so Matt's kindly taken us through the Stevenage team. So if you're watching this, Stevenage are in red on my tactics board here. If you're listening, Stevenage are in red on the tactics board. So in terms of the team for Stevenage, what we're expecting is a 4-2-3-1, as Matt had said. That seems to be the system of choice that their manager Alex Ravel likes to pick. In goal, it is Murphy Mahoney. That sounds like one of the police academy, doesn't it? From years ago. Murphy Mahoney in goal. I don't know an awful lot about him, I'll be honest. Right back is Nick Freeman. One of those experienced 28, 29-year-olds that you get in League One who've never really sort of hit massive heights in their career, but they're kind of top-ending now in League One, but they're very solid and difficult to get around. The centre-backs, they've got Carl Piagiani at centre-back. He's in his 30s now, but he's been one of the better centre-backs in League One for a couple of years now. He's just really solid, really good in the air, and he's, if Town are going to bang long balls forward, he's just going to mop that up all day. And I'll start crying if they smash it forward to Dion Charles and Callum Marshall, and he wins 73.7% of his aerial duels. That's what he does. He's won 75% of his tackles and 72.5% of his duels altogether. He's a good centre back at this level. If he was a couple of years younger, I'd probably rally for us to sign him. But at 32, pushing 33, that's always a bit of a risk. His partner will either be Charlie Good or Dan Sweeney. Both similar sorts of age. Charlie Good's massive, isn't he? He's 6'5", and again, if we start bombing it long to him and Cal Piagiani, you'd be like, what on earth is going on? Lewis Freestone plays left back, and he's one of those left backs that's actually a centre back who can play left back, the old Pulis type fullbacks, if you like. He was linked with us earlier in the summer window, but I don't think there was ever anything in it other than agent talk. But he's kind of bounced around Peterborough. He's been at Guiseley on loan in 2017, Bedford Town, Cheltenham. So he had 100. I think he played over 100 games for Cheltenham, and Michael Duff was there at the time, which I think is why that link came around. So Michael Duff will know all about him in terms of his strengths and weaknesses for what he offers at left back. The two in midfield. Harvey White plays defensive midfield. He's more their playmaker, if you like. He's quite a good little passing midfielder, is Harvey White. And I think he got the penalty, didn't he, against us at our place in the 2-1 win. He's quite decent. Louis Thompson plays alongside him. Again, another one of those 30-year-olds who kind of top-ended, if you like, at League One level. Although he was a former Norwich player, but I never really came through them after coming through their youth system. Never really played for the first team, I should say. So in the front three that they've got, their number 10 is the danger man, Dan Kemp. He's the one that everybody sort of is looking at to cause all the problems, and that's where Town's issues probably will come in. So he's got 9 goals and 2 assists this season. So he breaks late from attacking midfield for those pullbacks that come across 9 goals, and he got in January scored 4 goals in 4 games, which has kind of boosted those figures. And then he scored again against Peterborough in February, but not scored in the last 2. But it's not bad. He's got looking at his stats here, he's got in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9, 10. So in his last 10 games, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goals and 2 assists. So that's good going in the last 10 games. So that's a player in form that Huddersfield have got to watch out for. The wide players are not quite as prolific as him. They've got Kyle Edwards, who's playing on the left-hand side, who can play right side as well. He's probably not the better of the two, and it's Jordan Roberts, another 30-year-old who kind of top ends in League One again. They've got plenty of these, haven't they, Stevenage? He's played quite a lot of time, quite a lot of football for Stevenage. He's again another one who's played over 100 games for them. Played a lot in the SPL with Hearts and little bits with Ipswich and Lincoln and Crawley and whatnot in there as well. So he's a bit of a stalwart. And then up front at the minute is Brandon Hanlon, who has got just the one goal this season. So he's been the one sort of leading the line, but I don't think he would probably be the one that they would necessarily want to start if everybody's fit. But that's unfortunately the way the cookie crumbles, isn't it? But Stevenage, for me, in terms of style, they're not quite as agricultural, if you like, as what people would have, under as what they were under Steve Evans. So they're transitioning slightly away from that and coming and passing the ball a little bit more, aren't they? They've got Jake Young, who we mentioned in that little chat as well, and Jamie Reid. He's the other one who's the experienced striker that they've got. Who can come on and do some bits and bats. So he's one that's known to Johnny Gillespie having, I think he was the guy that was at Torquay, wasn't he? So Johnny's got a bit of a secret soft spot for Torquay goals this season as that man there. And Jake Young's the other one as well, the Huddersfield lad. So that covers Stevenage. What do you reckon to them, mate? How are they going to hurt us?
Defensively, they're very good. They are organised in a traditional League One style when it comes to how they defend. Like you say, Matt, aerially, 75% of the battles won. And you compare that to people like we've got Sorensen, 51%. Spencer's not great at 54%. Lundvik, he's not played too much, so it's a little bit limited. He's a little bit better. But then Ruffles, again, he's not aerially dominant. The way they can attack us is not the same as the way we can attack them because we aren't as strong as they are at the back. But you're right. Up top, they play a bit of football. Dan Kemp's a great player. He's a great player and would walk into our starting 11. He would walk into it. And we don't have people like him who provide that same quality. We just don't have it. They are a team that we can't underestimate. They come into this game, Matt, with the same goal-scoring record, exactly the same as Wigan, in that they've scored 30 goals and they've only conceded 32. Okay, they don't score free. They don't score freely. They don't run away with games. But they're very, very, very tough to beat. And you have to find a way to break them down. Their defence is as good as anybody else's defence in this division. And that's a bit of a problem.
Structure.
Yeah, they are. They're very structured. And they've got a very distinctive way to play, Matt. Like you say, they're not as agricultural, but they just know what they are. They know how to play. Alex Ravel came in and people didn't really understand what he was about and how he was going to play football. And they kind of thought the season would be a bit of a write-off because he's so inexperienced, but he's got them playing in a way that's appropriate for the division that we're in and for the players that they've got. And that's what I like to see in a manager. I like to see a guy think, right, we've got Dan Kemp, he can create some let's build around a guy who plays as a 10. And that's what they've done. And that's why the wingers don't score too many goals. And they've obviously strikers haven't, in that Tyrese Simpson was there at the beginning of the season. It didn't work and it wasn't going to work. So they were willing to let him move on because for the style of football that they play, he was never the right fit. Now he's got them fine-tuned, and I think they'll have they've had a bit of a blip until now, but I think they'll have a very strong end of the season because guys are coming back and they know who they are, they know how they want to play, and they're building into it. Quite the opposite, unfortunately, as what we find ourselves in and facing.
Yeah, it's that structure which you struggle to get around, and like I said, there's a lot of players there that have played 100+ games for Stevenage. You know what you get, and it's the exact opposite of what we've got. We're playing like strangers at the minute with players that haven't really played much together. So it's just one of those where you're coming up against a very structured side who know each other inside and out, who have got no real star players. Dan Kemp's good, but he's not. I guess he's their star player, and he'd probably get in our team, like you say, at the minute. but he's not one of those. He's not one of the best players in the division, for example, if you know what I mean. So they're just very structured, and they just have that number 10, rely on that number 10 to bring a little bit of magic to proceedings. Let's move on to Town. So Town, if you, I think first of all, before we move on, I think we need Cozzy to give us a little bit of an injury update, don't we?
Bing. The hamstring.
So thanks to Cozzy Bear for some Cozzy Ryoki that he stuck in the group chat earlier. But yeah, so Town have certainly got hamstring issues with David Kasumu going up. Again, it's a fitness roll call, isn't it? For what's going to happen. It's if you listen to David Duff, that's a completely different player. If you listen to Michael Duff after the Wigan game, he makes reference to having two good wing backs, but we can't play wing backs. And all of a sudden he's switched, and he's sort of saying the team's set up for a wing back system now, and Ruben Roskin back on the field, and I think Ben Wiles said something in the press conference today which was similar about wing backs, which makes me think that Town are going to switch back to 3-5-2 this weekend. Just little things there. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, reading between the lines wrong, but there just seem to be a couple of little things. But I think Ben Wiles talked about having to adapt to different systems, etc., and wanting to get back to basics or something. It was something along those lines, which made me just think, oh, maybe they're going to switch back to 3-5-2, and the kind of not openly talking about it, but acknowledging it, if you like, in a very indirect kind of way. In terms of injuries, David Kasumu went off against Wigan, and it's the other hamstring. It's the left instead of the right. I think I've got that the right way around. It's the other one it's the other leg basically is injured from last time, and they're hoping it's not as bad as they first feared. But I cannot see him playing this weekend with a hamstring. If it's a hamstring injury, I just can't see it. I'm delighted that they've said it's not as bad as first feared, because initially you were thinking 2-month job, weren't you? And you were thinking that's our midfield absolutely goosed for the rest of the season, basically. If possible, David Kasumu doesn't play. Hopefully, he might be able to play a bit against Wrexham, because that's where you would probably need him a little bit more because of how Wrexham play and the long balls and trying to cover those gaps, etc. Hoggy picked up that injury in training, didn't he? Just trying to block a pass or something. He didn't play against Wigan, and again, it seems 50-50 for the weekend. Ruskin came off the bench, which is good. He's back. He mentioned as well, I think, about Joe Taylor I think they've been hopeful that he might be able to be on the bench at some point, but they've not really covered that off definitively in this press conference. And Radinho Balca's out as well, isn't he? He's got that quad issue, and he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, which a couple of weeks isn't as bad as when he went down. We thought that's him done for the season, didn't we? So I think that's maybe just our negative gaze, if you like. Matty Pearson's still out, Mikel Miller, Herbie Kane, Tom Yapenda, Reece Healy, Danny Ward, Tom Lees, probably a couple of others missing, but we are pretty thin on the ground in terms of players. So that means who are we going to pick this weekend? Well, Lee Nichols will play in goal. I saw some negativity towards Lee Nichols after the first Wigan goal, but for me, Lee Nichols made 2 saves against Wigan, which no other goalkeeper in our books saves. So I think he's certainly our number one and the best keeper at the club. Baffles me when people say he's not the best keeper at the club, but my opinion against yours. If we're going to go to a back three, this is tricky. Brodie Spencer didn't have the best of times, did he, as a centre-back in a 4? I think Nigel Lonvike might play in the middle of Brodie Spencer on the left and Ollie Turton on the right, is what I'm thinking. It's not a great back three in terms of aerial prowess. Nige is okay, not brilliant, really. I think he's sort of 50-50 with the Jules, isn't he? Brody's actually pretty good in the air. He's on the quiet, isn't he? He's pretty decent, to be fair. It's the switching off which is Brody's Achilles heel, isn't it? And getting in the wrong position. Ollie Turton is not big. What is he? 5'8" 5'9", like the strikers. He's good at covering. Is Ollie Turton? So if Nigel Lonvike and Brody Spencer switch off, Ollie Turton's pretty good at seeing that and covering, so that might not be a terrible pick, really. But I think that's the back three. I don't like it, but I think it's maybe the best way to go because there's nobody else, is there? I mean, Loic Aina has been on the bench the last 2 games, and people are sort of saying, oh, what about poor old Loic? What about him? You've seen him play football. You know, people have short memories, don't they? I think players become better when they're not playing, don't they? I think Michael Duff might have said that recently. Loic Aina, when he's played for Huddersfield Town before, has been nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near. I would love him to play and all of a sudden break through and be this new star player, but I don't see how that's going to happen, or if the club believe it'll happen, because he, like I say, he was on trial at Riga, wasn't he, a couple of weeks ago? So, and playing in a trial game. So I just don't quite see how that fits, but would love it if it happened. The wingbacks now pick themselves, Sorensen and Roskin as the wingbacks. That's not bad, is it? I mean, neither are 100%. Last Sorensen's a little bit out of form, but I don't think he's fit either, 100% fit yet either. Ruskin hasn't had that long out, so he might be able to be reintroduced quicker than what some of the others have been, because he's only missed a couple of weeks. So maybe Ruskin will start on that left-hand side, which then means this is the real problem for me, is the midfield, because Town are going to lose this midfield battle. And the reason they're going to lose the midfield battle is because they don't have Hogg or Kasumu fit enough to play. I mean, Hogg might start and then come off after a while, but it feels like a risk. Kasumu, I can't see that happening. So the midfield is going to be Hodge, Evans, and Wiles. That isn't very robust, really. Evans is pretty strong, but it's not a robust midfield. Ben Wiles, for all his pros and cons, and I want to see Ben Wiles at 10. I don't want to see him right wing anymore. I'm done with that. But I like him at 10. We like him, don't we, at 10? He does a good job. Hodge and Evans, that's not great either. It's like the central midfield. Town are weak through the middle of the pitch. The spine is physically weak. And we don't have anyone who really wins the ball there. And neither do we have anyone who's particularly defensively minded in terms of off the ball. So that makes you worry that Dan Kemp could potentially run riot in that little space in front of our defence, unless someone like Nigel Lonvike steps out or something like that to sort of step on him. And then up front, again, I'm not sure where you go. I think it might be Marshall and Charles, although Josh Carone has been really poor. I think last 2 games, really, really poor. So but Charles and Marshall haven't been any better, really. So it's two of those 3, isn't it? At this point, it's not even that wild a suggestion to suggest Freddie Ladapo could be given a go, because he's physically a little bit different, isn't he, to the others? I mean, he's not a target man that you can bang the ball long to, but neither is he someone that you kind of push off quite easily. He kind of pushes himself off rather than others doing it. So I think that's how Town will go, Killer. How do you reckon? Do you reckon it'll be you think similar, or I mean, there's not really much other choice, is there?
No, there's no one else to choose from, really, apart from the striker dilemma. I do think this actual defensive 3, if I'll quickly go over that, I do think it's the right thing to do to go back to the 3-5-2. If he doesn't want to play 4-3-3, which is clear, he doesn't want to do it. There's been opportunities and we've gone with this weird 4-4-2 that's left us outnumbered in the midfield and Wilesy outright. No, it's not working. We have to go back to the 3-5-2. That's absolutely fine. I do think Turton in there with Lonvik and Spencer will help the actual rigidity of that 3, because Turton can do a little bit of the sweeping. Lonvik, we know he likes to go forward a little bit more, and Turton is clever enough to stop other teams being able to attack. I quite like him more than you, I think, Matt, when it comes to his abilities for Town. He's not great going forward, I'll give you that. Ruskins, I've got no idea if he's any good. I have got absolutely no idea, because he's shown us very little when he has played, but there's nobody else that can do it, and I think we're going to be forced into this. The good thing about this system, Matt, is that we can actually go man for man. And if we weren't on this run of form that's horrendous, and if I didn't think Duff had half lost the players against Wigan in that first half, I'd probably be more positive, because I feel like the system Stevenage run against a 3-5-2 that we'll put out would be all right, because I think Joe Hodge can man mark Dan Kemp. I think he can. I think he's a busy guy. He's not great on the ball. He can't do much progressive football going forward, but I think he could do a good job stopping. I think he's a bit of a stopping midfielder, and if we're coming up against a 4-2-3-1, it allows Wiles and Evans to sit a little bit higher, because they're gonna have two defensive midfielders anyway. But like you say, Matt, it means Spencer, Lonvik, and Turton, and man for man on Edwards, Hanlon, and Roberts more than likely. So you just have to see how that kind of turns out for him. But it's up top where the real question is. For me, Koroma has to play, because he's the only one that can score a goal with Marshall. I don't understand how Cosy reckon Dion Charles put a decent shift in against Wigan, and I don't like name dropping.
mate.
I don't like throwing people under the bus, but I saw none of it, and I've not seen Dion Charles. Bar is set up for the goal, okay, but then everyone can have these individual moments that take a couple of seconds to perform something positive. But for the rest of the game, it's awful. And since he's joined, I've seen nothing that's convinced me that he's good enough to start for us at the moment. And I'm sure it's a form issue and a confidence issue. And in time, he can play a big role in how Huddersfield Town will go forward. Absolutely. But from what I've seen right now, he's not anything dangerous for us going forward. He doesn't offer us very much, whereas Marshall does and Koroma does. So for me, it'd be Koroma and Marshall. But who knows? Like you say, Ladapo's now taken that Bojan Radulovic role, hasn't he? Where when results aren't going well, we're kind of trying to find something else. And, he offers something a little bit different. And you're right, Fred Ladapo is becoming the new Bojan Radulovic. And I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, to be honest, Matt. But it's just what we're going to do up top. I'm not entirely sure about. But I think the rest of it picks itself, because there's no one else to choose, really.
I'm not looking forward to it. I'll be honest. I'm not really looking forward to the game. It just feels like Stevenage are quite well structured, and we're not. We're disjointed, as Michael Duff said, and we've been disjointed for quite a little while, unfortunately. What I'm going to do, so before we give our predictions, I think let's go to our TTC squad. So thanks to everyone that's signed up for the Patreon so far. So for those of you that don't know about it, we're on Patreon now. We're at www.takesthatchance.com. You can sign up as a free member or a Andy Takes That Chance supporter at £5 a month, and you'll get some extras with your £5 a month. So what you'll do is me and Killer do a nice little midweek pod, don't we? If we've got a midweek game. So we've got Wrexham next week. We'll do a midweek game, which will be behind the paywall. And we're going to do some other stuff. You'll get ad-free audio and video episodes of everything that we do. The Cult Heroes episodes are coming back. You'll get early access to those. The Tim Hot Tub Time Machine history episodes, whereby we're going to have a narrated history piece once a month, which will be narrated by different people. I think I'll probably end up doing most of them, Killer, but I'm going to try and get different people to do that. Almost like some kind of Jackanory or something. That'd be quite good, wouldn't it? Getting guests to do it. The signed, sealed, delivered episodes will fall under there, and you've also got access to the Andy Takes That Chance community, where you can get involved with our predictions, and also when we do the Cult Heroes series, if you remember, you can ask questions to the players that we interview as well. And it's to the community that we go, Killer, to find out how people are feeling for this game in terms of predictions. Will Shaw was the first up, and he's no relation, but seems like a top guy, so he might be, who knows. He reckons 1-1, similar records over recent times, and allowing for Town's away boost. Jerry Hinnon says 1-0 Town, Marshall to score, always darkest before the dawn, or something like that. Jack Boothroyd says Stevenage have only conceded 4 more goals than us this season, but scored 14 less. The people around them in the table are conceding and scoring far more. I think it'll be a close game. 1-0 with Joe Taylor bagging a late goal off the bench. Johnny says Control C, the Shrewsbury game, Control V, tonight's game, which I think was the Wigan one. And he said Johnny Foster says 2-1 win for me. It's the hope that kills you. Cozzy Bear's in there as well. He says 1-1 and ending the day out of the top 6. Nice and positive, Cozzy. Will Harris says 1-0 Stevenage. They're better than Wigan, and I can only see our downward spiral getting worse. Sorry to be negative. Tom Hepworth says 2-1 Stevenage. Rinse and repeat from Tuesday with Taylor getting one off the bench. Terrier Blog, a.k.a. John Joe Shelby, a.k.a. Lord Volderpotter, says, I'm with Heppy. Could have just said that, couldn't I? Dean Smith says 2-1 defeat again. The team has stopped playing for the manager, so why would things suddenly improve? The most unforgettable bunch of players to ever wear our shirts. Aidan Grover says 2-0 defeat. I'm afraid it's going to signal the end for Duff, but I have no clue where we even go from that. Would feel bad trying to thrust Worthy into this dross. And Brett Lodge says 1-0 Town win, 3-5-2 starting formation. I think Brett's on with us, isn't he? Killer, what about you for your predictions?
Yeah, I was thinking 2-0, but with a switch to 3-5-2, I'll go 2-1 defeat instead. A little bit more positive, Matt. But I think the players have gone. I think they're not. I don't think they're interested anymore. I think there's so many big problems with this team that I can't see us going to a place like Stevenage where there might only be 3,000-4,000 in the stands, but I can't see us going there and facing any sort of adversity and coming out well. We've got no leaders on the field, and I think that'll really show, and we'll lose 2-1.
I think Matt Glennon made a really good point. Listening, I went to listen to the West Yorkshire Sport, BBC West Yorkshire Sport Football Forum, which is really good. You can they post it on Twitter and you can listen back to it, which is useful. And Cozzy's rant on there. Cozzy is unbelievably at 1.0 speed on there. It sounds like he's at 5.0. He's like Paul Ince. He's like Paul Ince on acid. He's absolutely on one. But Matt Glennon made a really good point, which I've now forgotten. But he actually, what Matt Glennon's point was, he said, have the players been given an excuse to be able to sort of perform like that? I mean, they've been told, oh, you've got so many injuries, oh, you've got this, you've got that. And he's pretty much saying, just get on with it. Do you know what I mean? Matt, I play with a broken leg. You listen to him on Radio League, but he's right in a lot of ways. He's sort of saying, have they been given an excuse? Have they been sort of mollycoddled and told that they're not going to win because they've got these injuries and these excuses? And I thought that was quite a fair point. Actually, they've been put into this mindset, haven't they, that it's kind of okay not to win because we've got all of these injuries, and I get that, and I understand where he's coming from. And I thought that was maybe a good point from Matt, and I do see that. I think we'll lose the game. I do. I do. I'm similar to you. I think the players have been given an excuse to not perform. I don't think they're going to do it intentionally or anything, but I just feel like there's not as much fight in them as what there was pre-Christmas, especially. They're struggling. The injuries are killing us, and it's just down the spine. We just look bad, don't we? Down the spine. I mean, we're going to try. I think if we go 3-5-2, we'll try and pack it, but that back three's fallible in the air, isn't it? To someone like Pierre Gianni, who's decent in the air, and Charlie Good, who's 6'5", it's fallible in the air. It's not strong. It's not going to win a midfield battle. It's not going to win a fight in the middle of the park. And up front, you've got misfiring strikers. I just don't see, other than the wide players and Ben Wiles doing something, I just don't see how we beat them. I don't really see it. I mean, pull back to Ben Wiles on the edge of the box to strike. I think that's the only way I kind of see it. I don't think we're going to go behind. I don't think we're going to get behind them. We can't go over the top of them. Set pieces aren't the same anymore because we don't have as many players in there who are an aerial threat. So it's going to have to be the old wing back down the flank, pull it back to the edge, Ben Wiles shoot kind of routine. Oh, Evans is decent at a set piece. He could take a free kick, couldn't he, and put it in. He's actually an excellent set piece taker. Is Anthony Evans? He's just not really had the chance yet, and I'm not sure if he's in the right frame with his toe as well, because apparently every time he kicks it, it's hurting him. So I'm going to go with a defeat. I'm not decided whether it's 2-0 or 2-1 either. Might go 2-1, same as you, Killer. When you look at it logically, it just does. I just can't see how we win this unless Stevenage are really crap and we go 1-0 up and the confidence comes back, and then all of a sudden players are playing and buzzing around a little bit more. So first goal's really key. If we get it, everything might lift. If we don't, I think we lose the game and we don't really come close to winning it. Let's see what else is going on, shall we? While we're happy. In League One, Birmingham versus Wickham. I mean, are we still looking at second?
Nah, we're gone, Matt. Don't worry about. We don't need to worry about Wickham.
Never give up, John. Like you said last week, John Cena. Like you say,
I've given up, Matt. I were there. I were at Wigan. I have given up. I've given up.
It was bad.
Not as much as the players have, but second only to this squad. I've given up on that top two, mate. That dream has gone.
I think it's
hanging on with top
now.
six.
It's not even third or fourth anymore. It's fifth or sixth, isn't it? Birmingham versus Wickham. Interesting. Birmingham win that, and Wickham. It's one of those, isn't it? Where if we'd have beaten Peterborough, we'd have been right. Would have gone up to third place if we'd have won that game. That's how mad it was. If we'd have, isn't it? If we'd have won this, if we'd have done that, we didn't. But we'd have been in a really good position now to strike with Wrexham and Wickham at home if we'd have had more fit players. But we're not. Wrexham are playing Bolton. I fancy Bolton to get something at Wrexham. Bolton are flying. I think Bolton are going to come in the top six. I really fancy Bolton to maybe go up through the playoffs. Birmingham, Wickham. I think Birmingham will beat them. Barnsley versus Lincoln. That's a good one. Barnsley are just a little bit like us, are they? They're not going to get in the top six. I can't see it. Barnsley. They're too inconsistent. Lincoln have fallen away as well. Bristol Rovers, Rotherham. That's a bit of a nothing game. No offense, boys. Burton versus Mansfield. Mansfield are on shocking form at the minute. Burton are doing really well. Quite like Burrell, who's playing for Burton. Quite a decent player. We had a conversation with a mate of mine about him earlier today. Crawley versus Cambridge, Exeter, Northampton, Leyton Orient, Charlton. That's a good one as well, isn't it? On the edge. This is a really good set of fixtures for us to win a game. It's a really bad set of fixtures for us to lose, isn't it? So far, Peterborough versus Shrewsbury, Stockport versus Blackpool. Stockport are on fire at the minute. Wigan versus Reading. I don't fancy Reading to break in that top six either. I just don't see it. Stockport, I fancy to win. I think this is going to be a good weekend for Stockport. I think they could potentially get higher in the table. I think they're a good side who play good football as well. I think the two early kickoffs are really good out. The Birmingham, Wrexham at home against Wickham, Bolton. Those are the two games, aren't they? And I don't know if results elsewhere could give us a bit of a positive step going into the Stevenage game. Would it affect them? I don't know. But those are the way it's shaking up, mate. Is anything sticking out to you apart from the two early kickoffs? And
it's a great weekend. It's like a magic weekend in rugby league, isn't it? If you look across all League One fixtures, they're all okay. Yeah, like I say, Bristol Rovers, Rotherham doesn't look too exciting, but everyone's quite well matched. And if you're trying to pick an accumulator for this weekend, I think you'd struggle because there's so many games that are very similarly matched. I'm interested in Stockport like you because of all the teams that have come to town this year, and obviously it was Boxing Day when we beat them after scoring early doors. It felt like they were not quite a championship team, no, but a very, very good League One team that knew what they were about. And okay, we got the win that day and we were all celebrating at that point. And that is, Matt, when I bought into Town potentially finishing top two because I saw how good Stockport were. And we dealt with them pretty well with a squad that at that point our squad were pretty strong. And I think they're really, really good. And I know you fancy Bolton. I think Stockport are the ones to watch out for in regards to chasing the top two down. I think they're a good football team that play very, very good football. So I'm interested to see how they can go on against a tricky Blackpool. But you can't look past Wrexham Birmingham games. Birmingham Wickham, that'll be an absolute cracker. But then the problem I have with Birmingham is that they're so good that every time anybody goes to St Andrews, they kind of just try and not lose too badly. And I don't know if Wickham are going to try and do that with Coney up top. They're going to try and sit back and counter-attack, aren't they? That's how they're going to approach that game. So I don't know, Matt. But what a weekend of League One football. Hopefully we don't spoil it for ourselves.
Feast of League One football.
That's the point, Matt. We'll enjoy the early games because Town won't have ruined the weekend for us by that point. Maybe that's why we're looking forward to the Wrexham and Birmingham games because it's free. It's a free shot. We can just enjoy them before Town kick off down at the Lamex and we worry about ourselves.
Yep. I think that's it, mate, for this week. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who's signed up for the Patreon. We really appreciate it. Free or paid. We love you both. Make sure you do sign up so you get all those lovely notifications either way. So John McNamara has done an article this week, ranking or rating, I should say, Mark Cartwright's signings for the club. So there are other little bits and pieces like that you'll get notified coming through. I'm going to write something as well pretty soon. I've got a couple of irons in the fire as well. So keep an eye out. And if you signed up, there'll be an extra time episode next week as well, of the Wrexham game with me and Mr. Kilroy Silk. And anyone else who wants to join us, come and join us. And we'll keep an eye out in the community as well, because we'll be getting your feedback for the games as well. So that's it. Thank you very much. And we'll be back this weekend.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.